G'day and welcome back. I'm not in the ranty chair, I'm in the chair in my office where I'm doing some video editing up some more videos. And interestingly, you can tell it's cold, it's winter here. I'm a big sissy. It's about 8 degrees today and I don't have any heaters in this room. So I'm freezing. So I've got my beanie on and everything, see that? Woo. Anyway, on with the subject matter today. As usual, it's a rant. I'm going to talk about regulations and other stuff. But first of all, here in New Zealand, I've been trying to get the answer to a very simple question out of CAA for 6 weeks now, maybe over 6 weeks. I emailed them with a very simple question that shouldn't have taken too much effort to answer. And I got no response. So a week later I followed up that question. I resent it and basically said, you know what it's like on the internet. Evil little trolls steal your emails. And so perhaps it got stuck in a pipe somewhere and didn't make it to CAA. So I sent them another email basically saying, hey, you may have missed this or it may have got eaten by the internet. Can you please respond to this email? At least acknowledge that you've got it so I know things haven't disappeared. I got a lovely response back saying, thank you, I'm sorry we overlooked your email. We'll get a response to you by the end of the week. Woohoo, score, win. Now, you might ask, why am I asking these questions? Because I'm going to do a new video in which I'm going to, again, represent or tell people what the rules are in this country. We've got a problem with non-compliance, especially when it comes to visitors, tourists coming to the country. So I have decided to do another video specially focused on tourists and their obligations when I've got a cat here, their obligations when they come to the country. So I need a little bit of help from CAA. I don't want any money, I don't want any of their scones, biscuits and coffee. I just want them to answer a simple question. It's not hard, it's not rocket surgery. So there we go. They said this was about the Tuesday. They said you'll have an answer by Friday. Woo! So I waited and Friday came and went. And then the next Friday came and went. So I thought, this is not really very good. So I emailed the, come on then, cat, get up. There you go. Here's the guest star. So I emailed the Minister of Transport. Now, here in New Zealand we have ministers for different portfolios, like transport and technology and roading, that sort of stuff. So I emailed the minister responsible for CAA, for aviation safety, and said, look, you need to spend more money. You need to give CAA more money because obviously they cannot keep up with the level of inquiries. I've sent them a simple question. I included a copy of it. Simple question, can you please check and see why there's been no response? And maybe you just need to throw more money at them. I mean, they've admitted on a number of occasions they're a very small branch of government. They don't have a lot of time, a lot of resource, a lot of people. So maybe they're just totally overloaded. And this is an issue of safety. We're being told drones are going to kill people. Drones are going to bring down aeroplanes. So please help me to educate people. Because we're also being told that the missing link in getting compliance is education. So there you go. So I sent this email off to our Minister of Transport. And I just got an acknowledgement. Yes, we've got your email. Thank you very much. And nothing else happened. Still no reply from CAA. So I thought I will chase it up again. So I sent another email to the Minister of Transport saying, I'm sorry, but really, this is stupid because right now there was a newspaper article which said that CAA were going to be working with Air New Zealand to create some in-flight videos for tourists coming to New Zealand, advising them of the safety requirements and the drone rules. And I'm thinking, oh, hang on a minute. They can't take 5 minutes to answer my simple email question, but they're going to start making fancy in-flight videos with expensive actors and they're going to show them on Air New Zealand flights. What about Emirates? What about Singapore Airlines? What about British Airways? What about Qantas? All the other airlines that fly into New Zealand with tourists on board. They're not going to see this video, so what the hell's going on? Why are they not using their money more effectively and their resources more effectively? I got an interesting response from that email to the Minister telling me that this was now the purview of the Associate Minister. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? Well, I was left scratching my head, which is hard to do with the beanie on. And sure enough, nothing else happened. But then I read in the media today that our Minister for Transport has been stripped of his CAA responsibilities because he broke the regulations. He broke CAA's rules. And you cannot be a minister for a government department if you don't follow their rules. If you show contempt for the rules, how can you possibly be the boss of that department? No, it doesn't work. This is not the first time. This is the second Minister of Transport in recent years who has broken the rules relating to civil aviation regulations. How can the government, how can the authorities expect people like me and my other peers in this country who fly drones, how can they expect us to follow rules when they show such contempt for them themselves? It's like, really? Seriously? It's a case of do as we say, not as we do. Unacceptable, totally unacceptable. So here we are, I'm still waiting to get a response to a very simple question so that I can inform other people, because I make videos. Now, I made a video on the rules a while ago. It's been seen over 20,000 times. 20,000 times, which is pretty good for a video aimed pretty much solely at the New Zealand audience. And CAA, of course, made their own video. Well, they stole a lot of it from CAA UK's video, and they put it up on their Airshare site, and it's had about 8,000 views. So my video's had more than twice the views of CAA. So you would think that when it comes to harnessing the power of people like myself who are willing to spend their own time, money, and energies to spread the word about the rules and educate people, that they'd be all over me. No, they're just ignoring me. But they're going to make their own motion picture with Air New Zealand, with fabulously expensive movie stars, as they do. I don't know, you work it out. It doesn't sound quite right to me. Something needs to change. And something is about to change, apparently. The New Zealand Airline Pilots Association has been putting immense pressure on CAA to require drone operators in New Zealand to be registered. Now, CAA has always said, no, there's no value in it, it won't solve any problems, it's not going to stop people doing bad things, and they did right. They did right. Nowhere in the world has there been any evidence to show that registering drone operators stops them doing bad things. I mean, if that was the case, we'd see no more drone incidents in the USA and other countries where registration is a requirement. But we do, because it doesn't work. And it doesn't even help you track down people, because there have been a number of incidents and that people have still not been tracked down because the drones have not been recovered. In the case of the one incident where the drone flew into a military helicopter over New York Harbour, they tracked down the owner by the serial number on the motor. It wasn't any registration information, so registration is a waste of people's time and a waste of public money and resources. And CAA, as we've already seen, are already way too busy to answer my emails, so how would they have time to handle registrations? But according to the media, they're looking at introducing a registration scheme which would be not retroactive. So if you've already got a drone, you won't have to register. But if you buy a new drone, you will, which is lunacy, because it means when you're down the park flying your drone, if a police officer or an enforcement agent rolls up and says, I want to see the registration for that drone, you've got to be able to prove to them that you already owned the drone when the registration came in. It's just a nightmare of red tape and bureaucracy. We don't want to go down that path. Absolutely not. It's lunacy. And to make it even more interesting, the Deputy Chief Executive of CAA, Mr. K, was quoted in the media recently as saying of drones that the incident rate is extremely low. Well, so what's all the fuss about? We know it's extremely low. We know that drones don't pose a threat in any practical sense to the national airspace. It's like, well, common sense, but it seems common sense is in very short supply. I'm very reluctant to rag on CAA because, as I say, they've got a very difficult job, they've got very limited resources, they've got very limited money, very limited time, but I have to be a little bit harsh because a year ago, I contacted CAA and I suggested put our QR code up in the airports, because initially I said give everyone this little safety brochure you've got about the rules. When they get off a plane coming into New Zealand, give them the safety brochure and then they'll know what the rules are. And CAA told me, well, it's too expensive. You know, there's millions of people come to New Zealand every year. We don't have the budget to print that many little brochures. So I said, well, then put a QR code up at the gate, at the debarkation gate, where people get off the plane, they can use their phone and just immediately download the rules in a PDF or whatever format you like. Then they'll know. And CAA themselves said, yay, this is a really good idea. Look, here's the email from CAA saying this is a great idea. They agreed with me. This was over a year ago, right? And the cost to have a poster like that done up and put in a frame, probably what, $200-300? They still haven't done it. So obviously even the people in CAA recognise that, as the Deputy Chief Executive said in respect to drones, the incident rate is extremely low and the risk is extremely low. New Zealand Airline Pilots Association are having a field day bumping up the risk. Oh, people are going to die, jets are going to crash, pilots are going to get killed. Yeah, right. We haven't seen that anywhere in the world in the entire history of drones. So, you know, how can we take the New Zealand Airline Pilots word as being remotely credible? Besides which, I've tried to contact the NZALPA. I've tried to contact them to establish a dialogue. They don't even answer my emails. So they're not interested in anyone's point of view but their own. They're not interested in the facts. They're not interested in reality. They just want to sing from the one hymn book that says, all drone pilots must be registered and that will solve the problems. Oh, they're completely out of touch with the real world. It's worrying, isn't it? Because these are the people flying you from point A to point B. Now, in the USA, the home of drone registration, The FAA have come up with another brilliantly stunning plan, amazing in its innovation and its foresight. This is called a face palm, and that's what I'm doing because this is lunacy again. The FAA have decided that they're probably going to introduce a requirement that all drones must have the registration, the pilot's registration number, clearly visible on the outside in large friendly letters. And that is so that if you are doing something bad with your drone, people will see it, write down the number, call the authorities, and you will go directly to jail. You will not pass go. You will not collect $200. You will go directly to jail. This is a fantastic way of solving the problem, isn't it? Yes, if you've got, say, a DJI Spark, and you put even the biggest letters you can on that thing, which have to be on the top, because the arms are too small and the sides quite narrow, then if you're flying over someone, they can't read that. Even if you're only 5 meters over their head, they still can't read that number. And if it's at any kind of distance, well, it's such a small craft that the letters are going to be small, you still can't read the numbers, right? Same with the DJI Phantom. Same with the Mavic. You're not going to be able to put sufficiently large letters on there, no matter how large and friendly the font is. You're not going to be able to do anything that can be seen from a reasonable distance. So that's not going to work. And then there's other really annoying issues. Let's say you've spent hundreds, maybe 1,000 hours building a precision scale model of a warbird. You know, it might have a 100cc gas motor in it. It might be a lovely piece of kit, or it might even just be a 50cc. But you spent hours and hours building it from scratch and crafting every little part, and it's absolutely accurate in every detail. And there are people who do this. This is an aspect of the hobby that has been around for a long time. Precision scale. Some people live for this. This is what they do. They make the little hinges and the little, rivets. Every rivet is in detail and it's all on the side. They are not going to want to deface this fantastically scaled model by putting their FAA registration number in big, large, friendly letters down the side, are they? It's not going to be scaled then. It's not going to pass the international requirements for a precision scale model, because you have to have a legitimate error registration number on it. So you're killing that area of the hobby. How can you say we're not going to have scale anymore? We're not going to have precision scale because you have to deface your model with these big, large, friendly letters that have your FCC registration number. The people at, the FAA registration number. The people at the FAA are smoking something funny. Just because it's been legalised in a few states doesn't mean it's a requirement for regulators to smoke it. No, they should be dealing with the real practical issues. This is not a practical solution to the problem. Let's talk about the UK for a while. A little while ago, it was mooted that there were going to be some fairly significant changes to the drone rules in Britain, and model aircraft and so forth. And these included registration, a compulsory pilot test before you could get your registration, before you could fly, all sorts of new draconian measures. And the media reported these, but I could not find a copy of the bill that was supposedly containing these things. And in fact, I went onto the UK government website and it said, no, you won't get a copy. We're not going to publish it until the second reading. And there are plenty of things saying this will be done in spring 2018. The second reading and the publication of the bill will be in spring 2018. Well, now it is virtually the end of May. Depends on whether you believe that summer starts on the 1st of June or whether it starts on the solstice, the summer solstice. But they've either got 1 week or about 4 weeks to get this out the door, and I see no sign of it. So that's unbelievable, isn't it? A government promises something and then doesn't deliver. Who would have thought? Is that a world first? It must be. Surely these wooden heads in power wouldn't give us false hope. No, they wouldn't lie to us about what they were going to do. No, that's just, something has gone severely wrong here. I just do not understand this. Australia, it's your turn. Now, I've always said CASA's got their head screwed on. They're doing pretty much the right thing. But I see that they are also contemplating bringing in drone registration for any craft over 250 grams. What is wrong with you, CASA? Who spiked your tea? Who spiked your coffee? No, this, as I've mentioned before in this rant, registration is not a solution for anything. It's just a feel-good thing. You can say to the people, you can say to your political overlords, oh, we've done something. Yes, we've made people register. Now there'll be no risk to anybody. No. You know it doesn't work that way, or you'd have had registration before. But no, they're planning to introduce registration, and pretty much along the UK lines, I think, registration for over 250 and also some form of compulsory exam or tuition. No, this is people playing with toys. Come on, be serious now. The model flying community has flown for 50, 60, 70 years or more without killing large numbers of people, and no one's required any of this stuff before. It's no. If you're going to do this registration thing then make it only for drones, not model aircraft. But of course, none of these regulators draw a distinction. None of them draw a distinction. It's a drone is anything that flies and is remotely controlled. Well, no, that quarter-scale P-51 Mustang is not a drone. I do not see reports in the media that a 757 had to swerve to avoid a quarter-scale Mustang flying on the approach path to Heathrow. It doesn't happen. It just does not happen. So why are we going to vilify the hobby because a few people have bought stuff off Banggood and don't know how to fly the damn things, or just show contempt for the rules? Not good enough. Absolutely not good enough. So CASA, don't go down the dark road. CASA, do what you've been doing. You've been doing it really well. Don't over-regulate. Don't over-restrict, because you'll find that you'll have the same problem as New Zealand. Now, there was a survey in the media today. There's been all sorts of news reports saying that a large number of recreational drone flyers admit that they don't follow the rules. And why is that, do you think? It's because the rules are too ridiculous. People in this country, you must get the permission of the owner of any property you wish to overfly. If you wish to fly over a piece of green grass in the middle of nowhere, you've got to find out who owns that piece of green grass. You've got to get hold of them. You've got to get their permission. It's ridiculous. It's lunacy. If I had a microlight license, I could fly a microlight over that same piece of ground without anyone's permission. If I had a private pilot's license, I could fly a CAA aircraft over the same piece of ground without any requirement to get permission. If I had a commercial license, I could fly a 747 over that same piece of ground without any requirement to get their permission. So why do I need permission to fly a little model? It makes no sense. The risk associated with flying a model over an empty field in the middle of nowhere is zero. The risk associated with flying a Cessna 172 over a busy car park in a built-up area is immense. As people in Canada will tell you, there have been CAA aircraft crash into car parks and suburban areas all around the world. But they don't need to get permission to fly over people's property. Yet here in New Zealand we do. So the most ignored aspect of New Zealand's drone rules is the property permission thing. And I have lobbied long and hard to ditch this. It's ridiculous. It's an obscene restriction. And as a result of this restriction, people are just saying, oh, we don't care. This is a stupid rule. We're not going to follow it. And of course, when you decide that you're not going to follow one rule, it's much easier to say, well, I'm not going to follow this one either, or that one, or that one. Oh, who cares about the rules? We don't care about rules. It's what we've got in New Zealand. That's the situation we have. People don't care about the rules because the rules are just stupid. And if people don't have respect for the rules, they're not going to follow them. It's as simple as that. When you construct your rule frame set, your regulatory frame set, you must try and gain the respect of the people you wish to influence. CAA in New Zealand, epic fail. And I think CASA has to watch that they don't go down the same road, because they'll end up with really, really low levels of compliance. And given, as we know, CAA does not have the resources to even answer my email, they don't have the resources to police their regulations, so it all becomes just a big joke. It's just a thin veneer of paperwork and red tape that has no effect. No effect, because there's no respect, there's no enforcement. You might as well not have these rules. The only people who, the only time the rules are used is when one of the ministers of transport decides to break them. Unbelievable, folks. Anyway, on to something else. Right, a big thank you, an enormous thank you to all those people who responded to my video recently about my medical condition. I'm humbled by the levels of response and the comments that people made. It's, blew me away. In fact, I was way over there, blown me right away. Unbelievable that so many people cared and so many people took the time to place comments. I don't have time to reply to every single comment, but I would say to all of you, thank you so much. It really was a humbling experience to read those comments, and I do appreciate your support, as does the old Sheila. Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. And I'll do my best to be true to the promises I've given you, and you'll probably have seen my outlawed video in the truck. That's just the start, don't you worry. I'm getting all my ducks in a row. I'm going to do some interesting stuff with the truck. I'm going to stick some antennas on it and some amplifiers and some receivers and things. The truck is going to be the, the outlaw vehicle. So no one would ever recognise the truck. I might put a big outlaw sign on the side, never mind. Anyway, so thank you so much. I really do appreciate that, more than words can say. And finally, Mr. Cat and myself want to talk about NASA. Yes, NASA, they've got a lot of drones. They've got them on Mars, not flying drones, rovers, the Mars rovers. They've been incredibly effective. They've done some amazing stuff. They've outlived their projected lifespan by orders of magnitude. It's amazing. Those Martian rovers are fantastic bits of technology. Now, NASA's going a step further. They're going to put a flying drone on Mars in 2020. They're sending a mission to Mars, and it's going to have a coaxial helicopter on it. And it weighs 1.8 kg. That is pretty damn heavy. That's way more than the Phantom. And it's interesting, there's a lot of technology going on here. I'm going to do a separate video on this because it'd be just, I could go on for hours about the challenges and the way they're dealing with them. But suffice to say, the density of the atmosphere on Mars is the equivalent of 100,000 feet above sea level in New Zealand. In the world, on Earth, on Earth. 100,000 feet above sea level on Earth. And that's very, very thin. How thin? Well, passenger jets typically fly at 30,000 feet. That's less than a third that altitude. And the air already there is so thin they need to pressurize the cabins. Even the U-2 spy plane that was flown in the Cold War only went to about 70,000 feet. And we're talking 100,000 feet, so it's wispy thin, which means you've got to have a lot of blade area to get enough lift, and there are all sorts of control issues. It's really, really quite a challenge. So I'm going to do another video on that, just explaining the challenges that NASA are facing with this, the way that technology could address those challenges, and whether or not they're actually going to succeed, because it's not mission critical. It's not the core of the mission. This is just the icing on the cake. They've already said our core mission doesn't include this drone. So if the drone works, it's a bonus. If it doesn't, then we're not going to be too upset. But will it actually do what they want it to? Well, I'm 50-50. I mean, there's a whole lot of things you probably haven't thought about. For example, how will it find its way around? There's no GPS on Mars. GPS doesn't work on Mars. And there's other things. Where do they get their energy from? The density of sunlight, or the energy density of sunlight on Mars, is between a third and a half that on the Earth. And if you're 1.8 kg, you can't invest a lot in solar panels. So how are they going to recharge the battery? How are they going to keep the battery warm at night? All these things. How are they going to navigate? A lot of things to overcome. So I'm going to do another video on that. And if you're interested, just say so in the comments and I'll give it a bit more of a priority. But there you go. That's the rant for today. And Mr. Cat thanks you. Yay! And if you've got questions, comments, put them in the usual place. I'll do my best to address them. In the meantime, as I say, I've got videos to edit, stuff to get out. Stay tuned. More to come. And we'll spot you later. Bye for now.